The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with nervous energy as 12 species representatives shifted uncomfortably in their biopods. The massive viewing screen displayed the wreckage of mining station Kepler 442b, twisted metal and debris floating in the cold vacuum of space. 378 beings had died in the explosion, and someone needed to pay. "The investigation is complete," announced Counselor Vextai, her crystalline voice echoing through the chamber. The Zephyrian's translucent skin flickered between nervous blue and authoritative purple. "All evidence points to sabotage in the reactor core." The Thrakari representative Gorthak slammed his massive fist against his podium. "This disaster threatens our entire mining consortium. The families demand justice." "Justice, yes," agreed the Serpentine Salathi delegate, tongue flicking out to taste the tension in the air. "But we must be strategic. The real perpetrators have too much political influence." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Everyone knew the truth. Sector Admiral Nexivar of the Altarian Navy had ordered the station's destruction to cover up his illegal mining operations. But Nexivar commanded 3 battle fleets and had the backing of the core worlds. Accusation meant war. "We need a scapegoat," whispered Counselor Yathara, her gossamer wings trembling. "Someone expendable." All eyes turned to the smallest pod in the chamber, where Captain Sarah Chen sat quietly reviewing her datapad. The human looked unremarkable, average height, brown hair tied back in a regulation bun, wearing a simple Terran colonial uniform. She'd been the mining station's security chief, one of only 15 survivors. The human was in charge of security. Vexatai continued, her tone growing confident. "She failed in her duties. The evidence clearly shows." "What evidence?" Sarah's voice cut through the chamber like a laser. She looked up from her pad, dark, eyes scanning the assembled counselors. "The reactor logs show security protocols were bypassed," Gorthak rumbled. "Only someone with your clearance could have done it." Sarah stood slowly, her movement precise and controlled. "Counselor Gorthak, are you suggesting I murdered 378 people, including 37 of my own species?" "The evidence speaks for itself," hissed the Salathi. "Does it?" Sarah touched her data pad, and the chamber's main display changed. Detailed schematics appeared showing the station's security grid. "Because I've spent the last 6 months analyzing every byte of data from that station." The counselors exchanged glances. They'd expected denial, pleading, perhaps even begging. They hadn't expected a presentation. "This is the reactor chamber, at 0347 hours on the day of the explosion," Sarah continued, highlighting a section of the schematic. "Notice anything unusual?" Vexatai's skin shifted to confused amber. "The security sensors were offline." "Correct. All 12 of them. According to the logs, they experienced simultaneous cascade failures, a 1 in 4 billion probability." Sarah's voice remained calm, professional. "Unless, of course, someone with intimate knowledge of Zephyrian sensor technology deliberately triggered those failures." The chamber fell silent. "Now let's examine the blast pattern." The display shifted to show the explosion's epicenter. The charges were placed with surgical precision, designed to maximize casualties while ensuring specific data cores were completely vaporized. This required advanced knowledge of both Thrakari structural engineering and Altarian mining protocols. Gorthak's massive frame went rigid. Several counselors were no longer meeting Sarah's gaze. "But here's what's really interesting," Sarah continued, her tone conversational now. "The perpetrator made one crucial mistake. They assumed human security protocols were as simple as everyone else's." She touched her pad again. The display now showed thousands of data points, communication logs, biometric readings, energy signatures. "Humans are paranoid, counselors. We've learned to be. So when I took over security, I installed redundant monitoring systems that interfaced with my personal neural implant. Every conversation, every energy fluctuation, every anomaly was recorded and transmitted in real time to a secure server on Earth." The color drained from Vextai's crystalline skin. "Admiral Nexivar's coded transmission ordering the attack, recorded, Counselor Yathara's payment authorization, logged. Gorthak's threat to eliminate loose ends, filed and cross-referenced. Sarah stepped forward, and despite her small stature, every being in the chamber seemed to shrink back. I know you think humans are weak because we're young, because we don't have your technologies or your ancient wisdom, but you've made a fundamental error in judgment. Her voice dropped to barely above a whisper, but in the dead silence of the chamber, every word rang clear. You see, when you've spent most of your species' history trying to kill each other, with increasingly creative methods you develop certain skills. Pattern recognition, threat assessment, the ability to gather evidence while everyone assumes you're just another primitive mammal. Sarah held up her datapad. This contains enough evidence to bring down not just Admiral Nexavar, but everyone who helped him. Bank records, communication intercepts, biographical data on every being who died because of your conspiracy. The Salathi delegate's forked tongue flicked nervously. What do you want? Sarah smiled, and for the first time the counselors saw something that made their various forms of blood run cold. It wasn't anger or hatred. It was the calm, predatory satisfaction of a hunter who had cornered her prey. Justice, real justice. Admiral Nexavar and his co-conspirators will face trial. The families of the victims will receive full compensation, and the Council will implement new security protocols, designed by humans, to ensure this never happens again. She paused, looking around the chamber. Or this evidence gets transmitted to every news network, every court system, and every rival faction in the galaxy. Your choice. Vexitai's skin had gone completely transparent with fear. And if we comply, then this stays between us. After all, Sarah's smile widened. Humans understand the value of mutually beneficial relationships. The vote was unanimous. Later, as Sarah walked through the station corridors, she reflected on the day's events. They'd chosen her as a scapegoat because they thought humans were weak, expendable, easy to sacrifice. They'd learned otherwise. In the vast cosmos filled with ancient species and advanced civilizations, humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their numbers. It was their absolute refusal to go quietly into the dark. The Council had wanted a scapegoat. They'd gotten a reckoning instead.